Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor now to invite Ms. Viola Amherd, President of the Swiss Confederation, to deliver her address. Madam President.
So, Mr. President, Ms. Pavlova, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Federal Council members, Mr. President, we are delighted to have you here to welcome you to Switzerland with your delegation. Yours is the first state visit to our country by a Czech president since that of your legendary predecessor Václav Havel in the summer of 2001. Since then, bilateral relations have developed considerably. It is high time to recognize this and to underscore the close ties our countries share. For example, the tradition of inventiveness, which goes back a long way in both Switzerland and the Czech Republic. Without us, the world would probably have to do without such useful objects as contact lenses, the propeller, Velcro, and hand blender. It is said that Swiss and Czechs also share a preference for practical things in other areas too, such as functional hiking gear. We can spot each other all over the world. As a keen mountain hiker, I will be keeping an eye out in future. These close ties between our countries can be explained partly by history. For example, the fact that 13,000 people from the former Czechoslovakia found a new home in Switzerland after the suppression of Prague Spring. The search for common features can take us further back. King Sigismund of Burgundy, for example, founded the Abbey of St. Maurice in Valais in the early 6th century. Later, his remains were brought to Prague by relic collectors, where he became a patron saint of the Kingdom of Bohemia. Mr. President, Excellencies, our two countries have much in common. We will have the opportunity to discuss the full range of our bilateral relations today. We will also touch on international developments. The world's attention is currently focused on Washington. The American people have voted, and their vote has major implications for the rest of the world. Switzerland values its long-standing partnership with the United States. It is committed to working constructively with the new administration on the basis of shared values and interests. We expect continuity in bilateral relations. The relationship between the United States and Europe remains central for global stability, and Switzerland supports all efforts to enhance this cooperation for the benefits of both regions. However, there are global trends with long-term effects that we as Europeans will increasingly have to adapt to. These include the fragmented geostrategic situation, the increasing number of conflicts, and growing economic protectionism. The vast majority of European states today are democracies, constitutional states, and economies that combine entrepreneurial thinking and social achievements. This is a good model. I would go so far as to say the best in human history. It is up to us to maintain it, to make it storm-proof. When countries like Switzerland and the Czech Republic engage in political dialogue, discuss the security situation, and promote economic ties, we help to consolidate the European structure as a whole. In the current geopolitical context, it is particularly important that close partners maintain good and stable relations. This applies to Switzerland and the Czech Republic, and equally to Switzerland and the European Union as a whole. In the ongoing negotiations between Switzerland and the EU, there is a palpable desire to make progress and to stabilize and further develop proven bilateral relations. However, there are still unsolved issues and positions that need to converge. We are working on this. Ultimately, balanced solutions are needed that benefit both sides in order to gain support in Switzerland and in the EU. The member states play an important role within the EU in providing support. Probably the most important task for the future of our continent is to restore peace and security. With this goal in mind, Switzerland is committed to a lasting and just peace in Ukraine and to the reconstruction of the country. Since February 2022, we have organized 3 major international conferences on this issue, in Lugano, on the Bürgenstock, and in Lausanne. I am grateful for the support we have received from the Czech Republic in this regard. Our countries stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, especially now as the country faces its 3rd winter of war. Today, we also discuss other conflicts facing the international community, particularly those in the Middle East. And we will address multilateralism, which urgently needs a new push. Mr. President, Excellencies, as nations of innovators, Switzerland and the Czech Republic have great potential when it comes to bilateral cooperation. And as European countries with shared values and interests, we also have a great responsibility to contribute to peace and prosperity in Europe and worldwide, whether working individually or jointly. Mr. President, Mrs. Pavlova, the entire Federal Council is delighted to have you here. We are very much looking forward to today's discussions and future collaboration between our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency, Mr. Petr Pavel, President of the Czech Republic, to make his remarks. Mr. President.
Your Excellency, President Amherd, esteemed federal councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to be welcomed here in Bern by the federal president and the federal government on the occasion of my first official visit. For generations, Switzerland has enjoyed a reputation in Czechia as a country of a great success. A country of stunning natural beauty, renowned for its tolerance and deep-rooted democratic culture. A prosperous country known for the quality of its products and the visionary ambitions of its engineers. Switzerland is also respected globally as a diplomatic crossroads. As a traditionally neutral country, you have been a stabilizing presence in Europe with expertise that stands out on the world stage. It is no surprise that we see Switzerland as a vital partner in addressing geopolitical challenges in our contested and increasingly polarized world. This obviously isn't valid when it comes to an ice hockey. Czech-Swiss relations have deep roots in history. The first Czechoslovak president, Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, admired the Swiss democratic model. It was here in Geneva in 1915 that he laid out the concept of an independent Czechoslovak state. Switzerland was among the first countries to recognize Czechoslovakia in 1918 and again in 1945 as the Nazi occupation neared its end. The Swiss government and its people remained supportive and generous to us even later, After Czechoslovakia's democratic aspirations were crushed by the Warsaw Pact invasion in 1968, almost 15,000 exiles found a new home here in Switzerland. And I had the pleasure to meet several generations of them today. After the fall of communism, Czechia has made great strides politically and economically. Switzerland has been part of our success story through considerable foreign direct investments, helping to improve the quality of products and services in our country. Our trade has remained resilient with almost no decline in turnover even during the COVID pandemics. With Switzerland being a global leader in innovations, I look forward to deepening cooperation in research and development and fostering new high-value investments in both ways. That is why I'm joined by a business delegation focused on biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. Today, we face numerous challenges, many of which are continental or global. I look forward to exchanging views with Madam President and the Federal Councillors on our approach to issues like migration, energy, or climate change. Our bilateral relations evolve within a broader context, and our context is currently overshadowed by the devastating return of war to Europe. Regardless of how the US election turned out, one thing is clear. Europe will need to take on a much larger share of responsibility for its own security. Nothing is more significant for our future than what the outcome of Russia's aggression will be. This is not just another conflict between states. It is an assault on the international system and on the very idea of Europe. It undermines all the hard-won lessons of the 20th century. I commend Switzerland for taking a firm stance by imposing sanctions on Russia, aligning with the democratic world to ensure the aggressor is held accountable for its actions. I follow with great interest your ongoing debate on the future of Swiss security policy while maintaining neutrality amid the shifting global context. While conclusions are still forthcoming, I wish to emphasize that we consider Switzerland's expertise invaluable to Europe's collective efforts. We are in this together. In many ways, there is no neutral ground anymore. In an interconnected world shaped by digital networks, democracies like yours and ours face hybrid warfare by our adversaries. Disinformation and cyber attack target democratic institutions and aim to undermine our citizens' trust. Our democracies need to work together and pool their resources. That is why I look forward to exchanging ideas, coordinating and exploring new channels for cooperation today. Thank you.